time in a long time. Puts me in the mood for the movie The Thing. I like soundtracks, so we're gonna use this in the background. Welcome to Reaper Rants, where if there's a topic on my head, I go live, and here we are. So, if you're new here, welcome. But this is the point in which we're gonna sit here for a second and let people join in as I tell you later a tale of once upon a time in Poznan, Poland. Eerie. So if you've been here before, you obviously know who I am. If you're new here, well then all the more, both whatever you're here for, let it be known that you're here in the comments. Because then I'm gonna begin. So once upon a time, there was a show that occurred in Poznan, Poland that I've talked about, I think, it feels like anyway, to death on this channel. And that's when Nunslaughter and Crucified Mortals, double bill for me then, because this was the year 2009. I got a cold if I sound stuffy, so great. Which I think I had then. Nonetheless, I had this great, grandiose idea that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get the poster for the show and I'm gonna show it off while we sit here and spin records. And I couldn't find it, or at least it wasn't within reach that I was willing to spend more than the time that it already took to find this actual flyer, though, of the time period. And that was right before we left for Poland. Nunslaughter, Sathanas from Pittsburgh, Crucified Mortals. We then played in Cleveland, because then we left for Europe the next day. And then I think it was on March, because this says March 7th. I think it was on March 13th then that the show in Poland that I'm talking about, the Death Dealers Festival, which was on then, I think on the 13th, the 12th or the 13th. Either way, kind of a week later from this. But yeah, that was the only relic I could find, was the Cleveland show. That was then the second occurrence that, at least for myself and Zach Massacre, we would have been playing a double bill, because then we were both from Crucified Mortals, playing a Nunslaughter at the time. If you're just joining, let it be known that you're here in the chat. That way I'm not talking to the wall like an idiot, sharing story time, or maybe you're just that infused in the storytelling that you're in awe and you have nothing to say, because I'm going to continue then. So then we're on, obviously, tour. You know, Nunslaughter's playing a European tour at this point. Crucified Mortals is just going to be doing a one-off show, and that so happened to be in Poland then. We had good ties in Poland. Basically, the drummer at the time, Sebastian, who, if you've been on this channel, you've heard a lot about him, seen him, and then even been on, Hellcast and stuff before. He was the drummer of the band. So with 2/3 of Crucified Mortals already in Europe, when it came to this Polish show, that kind of turned into basically a trip for Sebastian to fly on over, because then otherwise 2/3 of the band were already there. So it was just one plane ticket that I think we probably got, at least as far as, accommodated, at least as far as like a request for the band playing as the show. I don't remember the details, but kind of just reminiscing and thinking off the cuff. Because nonetheless, basically play a show at a festival. And it's just kind of cool, I guess, looking back, because then that was, I always kind of thought, at least as far as Crucified Mortals is concerned, because there hasn't really been that many recorded shows, that for what it turned out to be, the recording that happened was pretty much professionally done, and it sounded awesome, but the performance was kind of shaky. So that's been kind of something just lingering in my mind throughout the years. There was a tape that came out of just the Crucified Mortals performance, and it's been a few years that I've heard this, but I've heard this recording. It was 2009 that the performance happened, so I've heard it within that time frame of 16 years that it is basically, within a few months here to date. But this is now going to be a vinyl that Crucified Mortals and Nunslaughter, both sets. I guess the record label didn't want to do a triple LP to include Sathanas, because I think every band was recorded that night. Because nonetheless, this is the tape I'm talking about, alive and discordant for all the Adam level, Layla Lover, or Adam as you see on the channel. Shout out Adam, who if you haven't seen him on the channel, you haven't been paying attention lately, because he's been doing daily videos. The caliber of fan that Adam is to Reaper Metal, to know this story, so I'm kind of bringing it back around for those that's like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about right now. There was a recording of the performance to Poland, in Poland for Crucified Mortals, and then it was released as a tape, alive and discordant. So, Reek of Death Records approached me then and said, want to do a Reaper Zack Massacre, I guess. That was kind of how they put it. Era of Nunslaughter recording that then essentially had, one of the iterations of Kanye, or Jim Sadis, the many different names, in the band. So so it's got, I guess, at least looking back, and I guess from Reek of Death perspective, it's kind of a cool then recording, historically based, and obviously Jim's no longer with us. But then, it had the Crucified Mortals double bill, so it's kind of even cooler than from a perspective of a fan. So I think the Reek of Death was, kind of happy with that kind of, thing, because then it's going to be a double LP, and so I had to go basically and track down the Nunslaughter audio, because I already had the Crucified Mortals since it obviously came out on this tape, and then offered really my services as I usually do with a lot of projects, where I'm supplying the audio. But mostly it was Crucified Mortal stuff. Like I always get my fingers, touching the audio. So got to listen to this recordings, both of them, and relive the past for the first time in a while. Definitely for the Nunslaughter one, I hadn't really heard the recording of the show in 16 years. So it was kind of fun to look back, especially for historical sake, that, if people are no longer with us, we're all getting older kind of this scope. It was cool that this doesn't flat out fucking suck, like it's a 16-year minors version of myself. So I would have been 22. Yeah, I'm 38 now. So, so like that could be like, a good portion of time that you evaluate yourself as a performer or musician, blah, 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 that it could really, really suck. So it was nice, because actually it was like this recording's, it got a lot of character. It's heavy as fuck. Like it's really just separated between it was one guitar, one bass. So live, that's essentially, if you're standing in the middle of the stage, you're getting one ear of guitar, one ear of bass. Of course, there's stuff to be said that the sound man does to, bring them together and hit you at it. But for the most part, you're getting that. So it's kind of different to hear shit that usually on a recording has, even though it's a, one guitar player, one bass player, on a recording, you'd record one guitar over here, record another guitar over here to at least have two layers. Bass goes up the center, so, it's balanced. So it's cool to then hear how's that translation of not having two guitars to then go left and right, and then relying on just, a bass player and a guitar player, especially in this context, the Crucified Mortals set, because not so much Nunslaughter, because there wasn't really any leads. So there was always kind of present that dynamic of response that, you could be a little bit more interested in a bass player and guitar player, play different things, blah, blah, blah. Much more was so for the Crucified Mortals stuff, because there were, full-on solo sections that go for, you've heard solos in thrash death metal songs. I don't need to explain it to you how long they go and the dynamic I'm speaking of. So point being a young lass looking back at a recording of yourself that's a good fucking recording. It's it sounds professional, and then it doesn't flat out fucking suck, was cool. So I've got to live my nostalgic self here these last few days working on this project because I'm happy to say after tedious work, it's fucking done. And it's going to be a double LP. So I don't really want to share too much then because, well, I guess it's Freak of Jack's problem, but like in a world of digital too, I would think that part of the allure of buying a record is like seeing it for the first time. Granted, it's going to take a few months, but like I'm not going to show you the design that I also did for the double LP. But if you're the absolute atom level dork of Reaper Metal World and then essentially Crucified Mortals, then that is to say that the audio on this tape has not been touched as much as this next one, this previous one, or this what I just did mastering, because it just really gave it that polished touch. Not polished as in clean, but like just really pushing and balancing out, because it's a heavy as fuck recording, and yeah, with that extra touch, properly mastering it, pretty fucking cool. So you get a better, so essentially you get a remaster of this, because then like there's more photo-wise than what's here. Which there's the flyer, but which I mentioned earlier, that I wanted to show you because I had a poster of it. So anyway, you get a little bit more. So if you already have this, it's not to double down because obviously you get 2 recordings. It's just to say kind of, I guess that's the fun, and makes me kind of think that, you know, this tape's like a rare one-off recording that I have, and you could put out there digitally then. So it, in a way, I would imagine, you know, we as fans buying, consuming product versions in a digital world could argue that like it's cooler if it doesn't, have that internet presence to be able to be found on Spotify, so on and so forth. So I guess in this world of format, this CM recording's kind of been out there, but you're gonna kind of get a new version of it with the remaster, but then the complete Nunslaughter set with it for the first time, and then for the first time ever for both of them on vinyl, particularly double vinyl with a gatefold cover, Regadeath Records. Damn, I should get paid for this. Super chats while I check the chats, so that I can get paid, because it is a cold day out there, and fuck, it was snowing yesterday, and I couldn't get to work, because it would have been dangerous. So super chats could help. Anyway, let's see who's here. We got Gist. Stop hiding in the bushes. Hiding in the snow more so of recently. But yeah, sure. That's why I'm here today. Bringing it in, because that is the idea. John Carpenter's blast me out, or I guess Ennio Morricone, Kone, however you say his name. But anyway, yeah, like this is kind of the idea here today. Random shit. I was working on a project. That's the Reaper Rants idea. Go live and not making it so complicated. Craig, please do more content. Well, as one Craig to another, we're here doing that just now. Did you double gig with Kanye when you were, so that's Noxus, and that's essentially the story that I just told. In one iteration, if you go down that route, like if you're going the Jim Sadist, Nunslaughter drummer, Crucified Mortals in its early iteration, angle, then there were different double bills that I guess, because then there was that show that Crucified Mortals played at the legendary CBGB in New York City. I say it like that too because then that was like literally one of the last shows before they closed it down. So that was pretty cool. It was kind of like one of those landmark things. And that's kind of what I'm saying in like tone, being the geezer, so to speak, going back on a 16-year-old recording in this, that it's like come out on a record. Like who the hell, like I would have, like as you're like, flying there, gonna go and do these shows and stuff, like that's the last thing that would ever be on your mind, nor did I even know it was gonna be recorded. So it's pretty cool that like it's something that's stuck around, because hell, the reason why this tape even exists, the Crucified Mortals set, was when Heavy Metal Relics first came around. Which again, I got a cold, which fuck, I'm gonna take a swig of coffee. Stop choking. The first Heavy Metal Relics video, when we did that, was a Crucified Mortals theme one, and I showed like a stack of tapes. Like again, I feel like I've told this story a zillion times, but maybe not, and that's just my perspective. So just through that, somebody hit me up, which was Hellfire Tapes, to then put out this tape. Like I'll put out that show, because I kind of told a different form of that story, more so about like how this performance sounds great, but is a bit sloppy. There's literally portions that I was kind of giving it my all. That was before it became a very obvious idea to try to do some vocal coach stuff, because I would have a tendency, especially after recording vocals, to like nearly give myself an aneurysm. Like seriously, like my fucking head, like I would just have like a splitting headache then. Because essentially, like, you know, when you kind of work your voice, you always hear like the, corpse grinder or something like, you use your diaphragm. And it's just like, that's like one iteration of what you're actually trying to do, to properly control your voice. Nonetheless, I didn't have those three, I would say. You got like your bottom, where the base of your voice would be, and then like your chest, then your head. Your King Diamond would be then your falsetto. So just shit like that, you gotta like kind of rise through the ranges, and so I don't know, that's at least my case of like what I didn't know that would give me really bad fucking headaches live, but especially after recording vocals in the studio. That the last few times, because it's been a while, of doing Crucified Mortals recordings, I kind of conquered that problem. And I liked the results too, because then like it sounded like my voice sounded better. And I was able to kind of, do different things that like always kind of bugged me too, that essentially become a problem when you don't know what the fuck you're doing with your voice, with vocals. So anyway, there was that, like, so the clueless version of myself was very much present in performing this live, but it's cool because it gives this performance thing character, because then there's literally points where I'm like, giving my all, and all of a sudden my voice cuts out, and I'm like, wow, like fucking literally like gagging, as a result of like really pushing my voice. And if you don't know that, it almost sounds like, what the fuck just happened? Or as if it's like a theme of the song. It happens, I think, in the song Ghastly Affliction. That literally I'm trying to say, got blue affliction. So it could be, I don't know, the carcass moment or something that we could write off as intentional, but it was very much not intentional. So that's kind of something that's fun, like looking back. And again, with that certain nostalgic perspective then too, because I've definitely, when it first came out and I first heard the recording and listened back, I was thoroughly disappointed in the performance aspect of it. But 16 years later, different light, definitely admired how heavy and shit it sounded, and it's pretty intense, and it's got cool characteristic like that, is the point I'm getting at. Well, shit, you guys got to keep talking here, because I'm running out of anything that I really came here to say. Was really to kind of give you, a touch and base of what's going on. And I've been mastering a fucking 16-year-old recording that's coming out on a double LP. Nunslaughter and Crucified Mortals live in Poznan, Poland, 2009, March 13th, I think, but March 12th perhaps, playing the Death Dealers Fest. Which is pretty cool too. I remember there was this, because this was obviously in Poland, so I don't remember really, like, because there was a good handful of bands. Obviously it was a fest, so I remember like, well shit, I can grab the flyer right here. I remember though, like Bloodthirst was a band. So okay, I got so on the flyer. There wasn't as many bands. Shit, this was like, in my opinion, kind of how fest should be. Not be like 20 bands, like it's just too much. So you had 6 bands. So Nunslaughter, Satanist, Crucified Mortals, Bestial Rites, or I can't tell if it's Bestial. Yeah, I think so. Bestial Rites. Let's just say Bloodthirst, and then Ebola. If you can see it. I don't know if that was post or pre-Ebola when that was hitting the world, to be a distasteful name for a band at such a time of 2009. But yeah, in a way, those are my memories of it. Otherwise, I hope everybody here knows of the Polish band Magnus, because for me, once upon a time going to Poland for the first, and to this point, 16 years later, the only time I've been to Poland, it was really cool to then be able to see like on a metal market side, because especially too as an American going to a European country, there's just a different dynamic of how the show is. And so like you definitely are more prone that there's like gonna be like this individual distro or seller of sorts that has badass stuff, especially badass when it's like you're, a Polish band that, in this case, I'm talking about the band Magnus, that if you're sitting on the other end, like, I don't know who Magnus is, like, kind of my point. Because if you do know who they are, like, even then, it was like, hard as fuck to get their shit. So to be in their, home country, like, experiencing that, more European dynamic, I guess, because that's just in my mind how it looked, that, like, you had a side merchant then that was like, holy fuck, he's got a Magnus Scarlet Slaughterer t-shirt, which I couldn't buy because I didn't have crowns? No. Whatever the hell the Polish money is called. Yet. Like, but actually, no, and I remember this way too, like, as far as not having money, that, like, I was contemplating, like, is it even worth exchanging to get Polish money, because, like, we're only going to be here, if you really look at it, not even 24 hours, because if you looked at it by the hour, like, we're not even there for a full day. And I thought, yeah, because then I thought, like, okay, well, when we sell merch, then I'll have some Polish money, and then I'll buy a t-shirt. And that totally happened, but then I forgot. And then I kicked myself later, because I could have had a Magnus Scarlet Slaughterer t-shirt, which is an extra fun, because that was one of the first... Oh, Adam, you're here. Help me out. When the hell was the Magnus Scarlet Slaughterer album release by Reaper Metal Records? Because then that was one of the early Reaper Metal Records releases, was Magnus Scarlet Slaughterer, which has a painstaking past of just really how it was to put out like a reissue. Which again, this is like, I'm all nostalgic here, so I'm thinking of shit in like, nerdy past tense way. So in this case, like putting together an obscure Polish band's release, like how fun it is to, track them down before, there was as many resources as we have available now. Anyway, Craig, what will you buy? You will buy the Crucified Mortals Nunslaughter split double LP, which if a representative of Reek of Death Records is watching, because I'm doing this off the cuff without representation of advertising this release, I have no fucking clue where you can get it. Like, I'm not gonna have a bunch of copies, but yeah, it's happening. It's coming out. Very cool to hear then, Craig, that, you dig CM and worship Nunslaughter, so yeah, you're into it. Well then, yeah, you get, I guess too, that's one of the nostalgic aspects that, like, yeah, if that's the case, like, you get an interesting, fun angle of being a fan of the band, historically then with, like, a Nunslaughter lineup that would have then been me and Zach from Crucified Mortals playing in the band at that time. And a really good, heavy fucking recording from that time period. Yes, just 650. I am still friends with Eddie. He lives down the street now. So I've seen him recently. He is not a big Stained fan. No, that's not at all how that came. To even bring up Stained, and Eddie kind of then you're bringing up Hellcast is what you're really doing, because that's where the Been a While joke came, that I think anybody in this little community, let's call it, of like, you know, people that have listened to the old show and stuff, like that just became a joke. That anytime it was a moment since we put out a new episode, it'd be like, hey, it's been a while since we did something. It's been a while, you know, you do that. So that was it. Like it had nothing to do with Eddie or anybody liking it. It had everything to do with it sucking. But then she can't fucking explain a joke. It's going to lose value. But it had everything to do with it sucking and it just being kind of funny. Just to say anytime like somebody says that phrase. Because frankly, as far as Eddie liking it, it was actually quite the opposite than what we were doing on the show. There was many a moment he'd be like, stop fucking calling out that shitty song. Now it's stuck in my head. Which is kind of the point. It's funny to do that to somebody. Like, in a world that we have to, at least my perspective, I'm the guy that told the joke anyway. That yeah, it's just, it's funny to throw shitty music at people forcefully in a world that we have to endure it, you know, in culture because people listen to fucking awful music. Welcome, Shahoy! Inanama Morua. Man, I was really close, right? With that one. Probably so close that you're not even going to respond, even though I'm talking to you. But yeah, that's where that comes about. Keep them coming, though. We need more ranty type of commentary because I kind of came and saw and did as far as what I was talking about overall. So Lau, let me sell you on the idea of super chats because you love this fucking live stream that we've been here for the last 26 minutes doing. But also, let's talk about all the rare records you have access to over on the Reaper Metal Productions Bandcamp. There are one-offs of, Venom, Tankard, Satan, Sacrosanct, who? Merciful Fate, Morbid Angel, a bunch of Merciful Fate, King Diamond, like, rare shit, too, that, like, you don't, well, maybe you know, but probably don't know exists. Grim Reaper, Ghoul, Evil Army, Edge of Sanity, Eastern Front, Riot, live at Ruthie's Inn. That's a total, like, Bay Area thrash, like, gem that you need to, like, complete the collection, because then you get, like, ass-sounding but rare and cool recordings of, like, classic bands such as Exodus. So on and so forth. Go to that link. It's literally in the description of this video. I don't think I need to be one of those exhausting, I've been watching a lot of YouTube, exhausting YouTube people that have to constantly tell you to check the links and do that point thing, annoying bullshit. So I am not about to do that, but there is a link, reapermetalproductions.bandcamp.com. While we're here and I got your attention, if you haven't seen already, Adam, who is a regular now, kind of, being the 8/7 Central Fox channel network of the Reaper Metal channel, so a multiple show, that way I don't have to overwork myself. Adam is back doing regular content under Unbaptized Records, which he's trying to get off the ground. So, by all means, catch up on his latest content. There is going to be a daily video, so that's cool. But also, there's going to be a giveaway. So fuck that Reaper guy who never shows up all that often, and when he does, all he does is fucking sell you shit. Adam's showing up every fucking day, and he's going to be giving you something that I'm pretty sure he spent his money on. And I think that's an Abysmal Grief 7-inch, which you should apparently listen to on the wrong speed. So you have to follow Unbaptized Records. There's no Z, there's an S, right? Unbaptized? Isn't the logo? Oh. Where's the logo, Adam? If you're there in the chat, put your Instagram link if you can. Because you got to go to Instagram and follow Unbaptized Records. There's probably that link on Adam's videos. I didn't check. But yeah, watch those. You get a daily, at least 10-minute dive into some metal-oriented content. And then you'll get me chiming in every once in a while when there's something else, I guess, to sell to you. No, but I mean, I guess in a way. But that's what these projects are all about. There's a fun, you know, community here. Hence why it's called Reaper Metal Productions, because we're producing cool fucking metal shit that I happen to be involved with. So Adam's leading the torch with that content. I'm diligently working on 16-year-old recordings in the background that are coming out on LPs. Because hopefully now, to be that New Year's resolution guy, it is the new year, and hopefully this will be the year of now original shit. Because quite frankly, I'm sick of looking at the old crap and reminiscent. Although I do appreciate that this opportunity, you know, fell in my lap to then, yeah, revisit this recording. So in ways, I guess it kind of inspired me to then, yeah, kind of light that light bulb of like, if there's gonna be any sort of resolution, make it to then, yeah, put out original stuff and not relive the past. So hopefully that'll be a reality this year. Bring back Hellbash. This is the wrong channel for that. Had nothing to do with that. The closest I can do is more more releases and more content here, because that's more so the Reaper Metal vibes here. Let everybody else put on the fest. That's a lot of work. I got a thing with festivals. I don't really like going to them, and I've never actually went to one voluntarily. I've only played them or like worked them, and I find that a little bit easier to do because they're pretty exhausting. But maybe that's why they're exhausting, because it's, you know, running around in some different form, whether it be filming as the last one. So I'm thinking of Into the Darkness Festival. That I filmed that, and where the hell is that content producer, by the way? Deep dive there for you. To then, you know, just selling shit or playing a show. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's why it's exhausting in my opinion. But nonetheless, bringing back Hellbash hasn't, yeah, nothing. And it was called Hell's Head Bash, by the way. Not Hellbash, unless you're referring to something else. Sip of coffee moment. All right. Well, we're 31 minutes here. I came and told you about everything that I had going on, so I have brought you up to present, and I've made a promise into the future. So we're now in the now, and right now I'm running out of steam of what I came here to talk about. So we need to illuminate those comments with super chats of brilliant questions or just comments at all. Because otherwise I'm going to begin talking to the wall. So I'm going to kill that silence with a little bit more of the thing to give you the potential to come up with something brilliant to keep me around longer. Otherwise, time's a ticking and we're about to get leaving. I got a fucking cold too, so I can't do 4 hours like I normally do. In the meantime, bring out your questions. You got 2 minutes to do so. Otherwise, we're going to look at this Thing record. I think it's the Die Hard edition that comes in a box set. Yep, some chicken soup would be good. Okay, so this has 2 records in it. The full-on Thing soundtrack, and then Lost Cues, which is basically John Carpenter redoing. If you're a Thing dork like I am, then this is awesome. And if you're unaware of the Thing, because surprisingly I've met those people, it is a great flick for a winter day, as is today. So I'm setting the mood. And what do you mean both versions of the thing ruling? Because I was just talking about a soundtrack, so you could have been meaning that. Otherwise, I assume you're talking about that remake, or not really remake, that prequel that kind of happened. Otherwise, you could be talking about the 50s. Who Goes There? Novel, or not novel, although I think there was a novel. But the 50s movie, Who Goes There, which is then, or no, I'm sorry, not Who Goes There. That's what the novel is called, Who Goes There, because then the 50s movie is The Thing from Another Universe, or from another world, I think another universe, maybe another planet. The Thing from something else. There was more than The Thing in the title. That's what John Carpenter remade. So I don't know what both versions you're talking about, because essentially there would be 3 if you were considering that 2012 The Thing that came out. Yes, I have seen the original The Thing from, we're going with The Thing from Another Planet. I wanted to love it. However, it was more fun to watch and see the footage that is on the TV in Halloween when that Susie? Lindsay? No. I think, yeah. The little girl in the original Halloween, obviously made by John Carpenter, when she's sitting there watching TV and, shit, it's been a long time. I used to be like total dork that knew all their names. So Nancy Loomis's character, the curly hair, is banging on the back door like, let me in. She's watching a horror movie. She's watching the original The Thing from another planet. So it was fun more so to watch that movie and experience and see that, like, oh, okay, that's that scene. Then the movie really was in and of itself. I don't mind it being dated. It was more, but dated could be fun. Dated like makes me feel like, like giant ants and like, a Japanese guy in a gorilla, or not a gorilla suit. Well, I guess so, right? Maybe not a Japanese guy, but a Japanese guy in a Godzilla suit, right? To make the original Godzilla. It's like, that's dated too. But that's fun, camp dated. So the Thing from Another Planet was boring dated. Just like storytelling wasn't as fast-paced, or not so much fast-paced, because I'm not one of those people either, but it wasn't interestingly slow-paced, if that makes any sense. Because I love a slow burn, and a story like that very much could be a slow burn. Like, it is a mystery after all. Like, what the fuck's going on here? People are dying. There's this weird shit breaking out of the ice. John Carpenter did a better job. We'll just leave it at that. If you bought the 50s movie and you saw it with the hype sticker, it would just be, John Carpenter did a better job. Reaper. Done. I mean, shit like this. It's like spiders are crawling on you. So that's even one of the things too, like, everybody like kind of hails The Thing as some of the best like special effects and like the grossest, but in a lot of ways it's like that soundtrack too is just so freaking great. It just really puts you in that cold ass mood. But then it's shit like that where it's like, and I'm assuming the audio is okay, that the record player's coming through, but that, it's over. But like, there's really cool musicianship that it embodies that give that certain effect. That's like the spider crawling all over you kind of thing. And and there is like a insect type, you know, thing that has that head of the, you know, that's on my fucking shirt. So, you know what I mean? Like, you, whether or not you see the spiders, at least like have some like insect type feeling through music and give you the feel, and like, it's just fucking great. The vegan metalhead. That's funny that just anybody showing up with that name is. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've been here before, so welcome back or welcome. But today, especially because for some reason, I guess being of the nostalgic nature of today's conversation, anyway, which half of you that are commenting right now probably missed because that was about 30 minutes ago. I was talking about the Crucified Mortals show with None Slaughter when we were touring and we played in Poland and how that's coming out on a double vinyl. And then I got into this spew about the thing. Anyway, I was just thinking about like, when to do a live stream, like I'm in the mood for the thing. That's why I'm bringing it up. Like, I'm putting it on the background, but it just made me think that like if you do a live stream and you're essentially doing like a what am I doing? Working on a fucking vinyl record. What am I listening to? The Thing. What am I watching? Well, hopefully The Thing later on. You know, what are you wearing? Well, if you kept going, like what am I reading? Like I'd be reading like, you know, Persian recipes, cookbook. So it's like, that would be funny amongst, somebody pointed out, you know, force-fed, non-slaughter, Crucified Mortals showed The Thing, and then it's like, and then Persian, you know, recipes. That if you were to be that brand guy, that would be literally what I'm reading. Because then it made me think that somebody might have interest. There was, back in the day at least, hence why it was the nostalgic aspect, there was a There was a Hellcast episode, that's why I'm thinking of it that way, that there was a guy that I'm pretty sure he ragged on for no other reason, just that it was, I guess it really isn't, but it was silly in our perspective at the time, of a vegan black metal chef. The vegan metalhead, you get your fucking, there's the point. There's a connection. Thinking about it today. But yeah, as John said, hey Prong, force-fed back there, highly underrated badass record. John, this is how badass it really is. Do you know of both versions? So you have the full badass album. Yeah, do you? No, or have? Because it took me years to get both copies. Help me if my perspective is right or wrong between my friends, who aren't many, that love and can talk about Prong, for which they could debunk whether I'm right or wrong. So, am I right or wrong? Which version, I thought this, is the more prevalent one? Because this is what I have also on CD, which then has like 2 bonus tracks. Where then this was always the highly sought after one that you needed, not only because it has a different cover, but then it had one more. Well, it definitely didn't have one less. It had a different song called Bought and Sold that this does not yet. The lesser more that I'm struggling my way through is, how did that fall? Like, does this have the same amount of songs? I don't remember. I think so. Because then they flip-flop. Either you get Bought and Sold and or you get whatever fucking track. I don't remember. Yeah. 2 versions of Prong, force-fed. You need them. Thanks for noticing too, by the way. I purposely did that. Because, like I said, like, everybody I know, there's really very few Prong fans. And I love the first 2 Prong albums. Primitive Origins and Force-Fed, like, I love them. Especially the raw, like, production of it. Like, you get a totally different character of what you could essentially, if you just stuck with some of the facts, that if you were, like, oblivious to who the hell Prong was, and somebody said, like, oh, because they could, I don't know if I entirely would agree and say it like this. They could call them a New York hardcore band, right? They could say it's East Coast thrash, like, maybe. But if you were to just stick it with those labels, like, that does not describe any Prong, by the way, but especially those records. Well, no, not especially, because They really sound, every record sounds different, but of that time where at least wasn't like, they didn't have, because later, like, if you don't know Prong, or if you don't give a shit, or if you needed a reminder, like, there's albums that, like, by the 90s, too, like, kind of got more, like, had some industrial going. So, like, you never got the same record. So, to say it's hardcore could be obvious to that, like, that doesn't fit the bill. But on those records, perhaps you could, but still, it wouldn't really describe the more unique character that Prong has on those records, which is a lot of the production that's thin and ugly, and I love it. So there's our Prong deep dive of the day. Actually, it isn't the deep dive of the day. Let's get some thumbs up for Prong in the comments if you want me to keep deep diving. Because, well, for one, if you haven't, like, fuck, okay, shit, we're deep diving. We're just going there. I'm excited. Because, like, as a Prong nerd, they're kind of one of those bands that if you hated everything else and you just loved the more hardcore-ish era, well then, like, you just had these two albums. Now, and then you had to seek out the other version of Force Fed to then, like, get that song you were missing. Then you had to get the CD with this cover that was more prone to this, because then the CD had more songs than this does, because the CD then had, like, bonus tracks. Then you needed the Peel sessions that I think actually is an LP, because I have the CD of it. I don't know what the fuck this is all about. The CD that's not in my hand. Because then you're starting to get these songs that just are or are not on these, like, rare recordings of the, and especially now looking back, like, that's Prong and they're great songs and I love the production, all that. But it is slightly kind of a lost idea, and that, I guess, brings back to this entire conversation of now being the geezer that's, 16 years ago, because, everybody that is joining us now and commenting, the Nutslaughter Crucified Mortals double LP that you did or did not hear the full story about. That's what I initially came here to talk about. So, talking about Prong now, looking back on nerdy details of, needing multiple pressings to then, even fucking get the full-on catalog of just that time period, you needed to do a lot of work. And a lot of those different songs then existed for cool, unique then reasons, because then, in particular for Prong, to complete that, and, like, you're buying rare records like the Peel sessions, which perhaps a lot of people are aware of, because then, shit, like, a lot of people had a Peel session. So, but the Peel sessions are no more. So, you lost that regardless if a lot of people had that opportunity or not. And when they did, in the case of Prong, a cool record of 4 songs exclusively performed and recorded in that studio, but then a brand new song just for that, and it never came out anywhere else. Like, that's cool. But it was because of that broadcast performance. So we lose aspects like that, perhaps. So it's kind of cool then to essentially, with this Nutslaughter Crucified Mortals release, to kind of embody bands that I've been in that have that same kind of lure then, with now an LP product of a show that essentially could just be swept under the rug that happened, that sounds fucking awesome, but also has, like, these fun, if you give a shit about anything I've done for the past 20 plus years, they've got all these little breadcrumbs and that, put them all together. So it's fun from that perspective. Catching up on comments. Looks like Prong kind of lit up the show there. Yeah, you need to listen again, anybody that took away from that. Crossovers, so on and so forth. Yeah, the Prong Peel shit. My CDs used to all be in order. Otherwise, I was gonna literally grab it. Cause like, I'm pretty sure that did come out on LP. Cause then there's even, like, cooler shit. Let's see if I can grab an example. That of, like. So I guess the topic here. Thanks, Prong. Then in a sense of like Peel sessions that, you know, were, well, shit, let me backtrack, because I was trying to explain what the hell Peel session was to anybody that doesn't know. John Peel, it was a radio broadcast. Was it British? That part I don't remember. Because then, yeah, like, you would add, though, you definitely have, like, especially, like, classic rock bands, because then you're going to, like, you know, eras that's something like a BBC broadcast, right, of, like, a Rush performance or something. Like, you don't have that as much today, is kind of the point I'm getting at. Because then using Prong as a further example, Peel session was, like, a studio broadcast performance, so the quality of it was spot on, and that was cool to get a song that was then, you know, unreleased. Defiant, for all the Prong fans that know the songs by the title. That was the song that you got from the Peel session, was Defiant. Because then otherwise the 3 other songs were songs that you had, just not those performances of. Because then Prong itself, there was Live in CBGB, which again, Crucified Mortals is getting to play that before it fucking closed down. Being a Prong dork, clearly. That's kind of cool, you know? So you had to get that recording. And now that recording wasn't bad. And shit, because it wasn't like somebody went there with a tape recorder and stood in the audience and you got like that blown speaker audience recording of like 80s bands, which is a lot, obviously. It was not professionally done either, a la this Crucified Mortals Nunslaughter LP that's coming out. But it wasn't like shit. It was probably, it was a soundboard is what it was. And so like that makes sense then, having experience playing at CBGB, because they offer that to the bands then. Like, hey, and I think it was like $25. Like if you throw the band, like, you know, they asked you before the show, like, everybody, you know, whoever, all the bands that are interested, like, you know, give me $25 and then I'll record it. Because basically it's like the sound man just put a CD inside his mixing board and then it just recorded to a disc and then he handed it to you on your way out. Why the fuck Crucified Mortals didn't do that is beyond me. Because I have a recording of Crucified Mortals live in CBGB 2000. I mean, when it closed down, I think, in 2006. So then, yeah, it was like 2006, July 2006. But it's shit. It's from a video camera that has blood. It's just fucking, well, it's here on YouTube. So if you want to watch it, it's horrible. Because it's just, and it's not me being like, because it's my thing. Like, no, it's like literally speaker blown, volume's too loud, shit. That we could have had an awesome soundboard recording of. But that makes sense then why Prong would as well. Apparently CBGB was always doing that. So that's pretty cool. Peel session usually have a cool demo feeling. Yeah, exactly. And it makes, for whatever reason, the Peel session remark makes me think of like AC/DC, because I just remember when that Bonfire box set came out. It was like, to me, it was like a big deal because, I was a kid getting like a BMG catalog or something. So like the idea to eventually afford I think it was five CD box set of AC/DC with like the rare cuts, because then it had like an Alive in Studio A or B, because it's almost, honestly, that's almost side mark, but like a lot of what we're describing is like, in a way, like performances existing because of way of advertisement, yes, but like a way of format consumption, essentially. Because then that makes me really go back to like, if you go to like a classic 50s diner or something where there's like the 7-inch record player with the big hole. Well, that's what, that was got a cold, by the way, for anybody new. That was like what spawned the 7-inch, really, was like, you know, to put out a single that could then essentially be consumed at like a diner or just elsewhere, that like there wasn't a radio present to push the new CCR album or to push the new Elvis and so on and so forth. that, you know, that's, who am I talking to here that doesn't know that? Then essentially that's where like you get one song was on the album, so the B-side is then, you know, the song that's not. So then you get these fucking terms. So fast forward to like Peel Session, whether that be, and then the AC/DC connection, like that idea is more of like bands playing like live on the radio, you know? Like you listen to the disc jockey in your town, you know, in Cleveland and Akron, it's fucking 98.5, so like that's what all I hear. Like, but you know, back in the day, you would have listened to Rush perform on Cleveland's classic rock radio station in the studio. So like you can still do that today. How many people do? And if they do, then it's kind of more a city being a little bit more or a radio station rather in a city, because they're obviously city based. You know, it's just a different medium, a different form of consumption, and that's kind of what we're talking about, because then that's cool, because then the performance is yes, but it's like that reason for doing that performance type is just a whole different dynamic, you know, than just being simply live. You know, way different energy live than live in the studio. You know, live over the air where there's 3 people with headphones. You know, one of them's a radio broadcaster, the other one does the weather. You know what I mean? And they're going, ah! You know, on the side, clap for Bon Scott, which was happening on the AC/DC one. So that kind of shit's cool, and that's what the Peel Session's all about. So, yeah, I Ain't No Poser, King of Heavy Metal, Rush kicks ass. And they really kicked ass on the, I can't remember, I want to say it is BBC, because then there's like, you know, a lot of that shit too, like was bootlegged of those like classic bands. Sabbath's got one, Deep Purple, Rainbow, you know, insert anybody's name really of that era, they would have some sort of radio broadcast, but Rush in particular comes to mind because then there was one where like Geddy Lee introduces Neil Peart, not Pert for anybody wondering. So if Geddy Lee says it, that must be how it's said. Because yeah, he that was like his first show or whatever, and it was a badass performance, but like one that I enjoyed more, especially using Rush as an example, because like the records kind of get me in that, you know, I've heard this on the radio mode that I don't need to hear it again. But even if you heard something like, you know, a Working Man or a Tom Sawyer, you know, and an insert exhausted classic song here, then if you heard another version of it, though, it's just like, holy shit, you know? And that's kind of what that Rush recording stands out as. But again, that Peel Session aspect, you know? Andrew Gabriel, good to see ya. Been a long time. Yeah, Thin Lizzy would have had one too. Lord Osceola. We could keep going with this idea, right? Greetings from El Salvador Hell. Yes, greetings from cold Ohio, United States. But yeah, I'm getting slightly sidetracked at this point because it's been an hour since I came here and originally told my story. So there's a lot of you that are joining us, and I don't want my damn good story to go over your head that you're only going to catch the last 10 minutes of this, that the longer I keep going with the live stream, anybody to rewind and consume the message that I came here to tell, which was that story, it's going to be, you know, shrouded in, I don't feel like watching a 4-hour live stream after the fact. So that's what's on my mind anyway. What am I keeping going though? The live stream, because that's my retort on why it's hard to keep it going. I mean, unless you get me going on another fucking Prong rant, which by the way, the Prong 1986 demo, which you also need to complete the era, is posted here on the Reaper Metal Productions YouTube. You're welcome. All right. Because I'm killing time. This Overkill demo LP is fucking awesome. More songs that you need. My ass and back are starting to get sore sitting on the floor, by the way. I know I don't have to, but I would have to relocate my setup here, so that's also something to consider. Especially if you're asking me to stay longer. And the lack of super chats tip my sore ass to want to stay. There we go. Ah, shit! Now I got stuff there. That's one of the cubbies that's a little bit loaded with records. But yeah, Overkill, blood metal donors. Really cool. Both demos. Power in Black demo 1983. Feel the Fire demo in 1984. I don't know what color to say that is. Vinyl. Schnazzy. And rare shit, because early Overkill is fucking great. Ain't No Poser asked if this is on CD. I assume that's what you mean. Because you said how that on CD, so I assume that translates into how is that on CD, or is it on? It doesn't really translate, so I'm assuming that's why I'm confused. Because not to my knowledge, I had a I don't know if anybody. It was a thing. It had to have been a thing. Let me complete my thought here, because no, okay. So I was about to say, to answer is the Overkill on CD question, that you may then be familiar with, because it wasn't like, maybe it was a particular like bootleg metal label that was like always on them. But there were these CDs then, so that's more of the notable quality, that like you knew it was essentially the same guy, because who would do this? That you got in a CD case that was kind of, it was a CD size case, but it was like a DVD case where it had like that film, and then you just put like, you know, a piece of paper that was like your cover and your back cover and your spine, and then just close it and it would stay in there. It had like one of those. It was, and then you open it up and, you know, CD was inside, and then maybe it had a booklet. And so that was, you know, a lot of ways like how you could get a better CDR, because usually that kind of then was just, you know, somebody could make because these are bootlegs, somebody could make a better quality cover that, you know, you could just burn somebody a CDR and write Overkill on it. Who wants to buy that? So you could have done like a better shitty CDR demo that wouldn't have been less shitty, because I remember seeing like a bunch of bands of that. Like I had a Megadeth that was called Peace. I might still have that. Peace Diffs, but who's buying? Because then like so on and so forth. Like there were just like any band of that era that like there were, you know, I'm ranting off random bands, but these are the ones that I've seen. That's why I brought it up that way. Like a Typo Negative one, Megadeth, Sanctuary, like it was just a shit, Pantera, like there was a shit ton of bootlegs done like this. If that makes any sense to you, then why did I bring that up? Oh, it would have been, I had like something like that as far as an Overkill demo on CD. So Bobby Blitz, let's get this together, man. I'll rip this audio. You can hire me. You know, we got our source. Let's put out an official fucking Overkill demo LP. Reaper Metal. I'll put that out on Reaper Metal. So if anybody knows Bobby, DD, anybody that, you know, the appropriate powers, let's do it right there. Blood Metal Donors. We'll scan it in and get it going. Yeah, so that's that. I ain't no poser of the beeping noises. I ain't no poser on the king. Hold a second. What's going on with your... I ain't no poser on the king of metal. Is that you, Fraser? Because I don't know what Just is saying. But I also am confused by the screen name, by the way. Oh, Andrew Gabriel, speaking of typo, I've been thinking of getting some Carnivore CDs when I can. Fuck yeah. Where have you been? But definitely. Shit. All right, so where are they at? I guess New York's the topic of today after Poland. It's supposed to be a story about Poland. But I already told that story. So anybody that came for that story, rewind and yeah. Shit, what's my right? Then your left. Because I don't know what the beautiful vinyl you're talking about. Too many things going on at once. I'm trying to grab the CDs that you don't need of Carnivore and the LPs that you do. Because good luck finding them. Because again, back to that Prong rant where you have to buy all this shit. Some of it's a BBC or appeal session recording. The other one's a live in CBGB, maybe from a soundboard. Maybe, and then there's a demo to complete the songs of the band in the era that you like it. Carnivore, there was no era. That was just the whole fucking career. Well, maybe there was an era, but they didn't record shit. So, I'm pretty sure when they got back together and did like shows, they didn't put exclusive songs in those shows, although they could have, and that would have been pretty cool. Anyway, exclusive songs in these 80s shows before, maybe during, maybe close to, sometime or around when the records came out. These shows occurred in New York, and they have songs that are not on those demos or those records, and this is one of them. It's called Deliver Us to Evil. That's one of those songs. Live, 1985, and it's fucking sweet, especially if you're an absolute Carnivore dork, as I am. Then, if that didn't tickle your fancy enough, there was this other one. I don't know where it's live at. I guess I could open up the record and find out. August 31st, 1984. I don't know the month in this one, so maybe you get the point. Not in the same year. So earlier, NYC. So then you get Cry Wolf. That's not on anything, right? So that's Cry Wolf. You have to have that show for. So far we need Deliver Us to Evil and Cry Wolf, but I think there actually is another song on this. Well, they do the Star Spangled Banner, but so far you're missing two songs unless you have these guys that they only did live. Because even if you had the demos, which you could get because they're actually on those CDs that you're looking for, Andrew, so those CDs are probably, those Roadrunner reissues where they do put the demo tracks on there. Granted, I do think that they don't put everything, and then they put them out of order, where like the second album has the first demo, which I guess makes some sense, because after you just jam the album, do you want to like hear the same songs, or then hear the demo to the next album? But I guess that doesn't really work out when you go from the first album. It works out if you go from the first album into the second album, so like first album, bonus tracks, second album's demos, as opposed to the second album backwards. The chronology doesn't work out anyway. Nonetheless, you can get those demos. You don't have to get this LP to have the demos, but you probably would rather have this LP so that you can complete your Pete Steele, in a way though, Carnivore collection, because then this has the Fallout 7-inch, the first band that Pete ever did, on the other side. And so I did say you could not have to get this bootleg to get that, but good luck, and you must have a sum of cash and just lucked out to even find that 7-inch, because I don't think it goes for affordable prices. And if it's even for sale, I guess I could pull up on Discogs, but I'm not that vested in the interest to find out. Because nonetheless, this would be expensive too, but it's a cheaper way than seeking out the original Fallout 7-inch. And then when you do so, you will have a nice lead up to then, yes, the Carnivore albums that you can or cannot get on CD or on vinyl. And then you will have completed the Carnivore discography. Yeah, another one of those bands though. No Peel session for Carnivore, which would have been fucking awesome. Or just like live on any like radio or like radio broadcast live in the studio. That would have been great. The vegan metalist doesn't like that album. Why? What happened? What album don't we like? I was talking. Never liked Typo, but you like Carnivore. Yeah, Typo was always well. Before you go that far though, too, have you given the first album in a way too? And then the second album. So have you given Typo Negative, Slow, Deep, and Hard, a chance? Because then that's essentially more of what, bringing in keyboards and a darker sound to Carnivore is what I would describe the first Typo Negative as, because Pete Steele still sings that way. Because then he started to introduce like the clean singing vampire goth vocals on the second album, in a way, Origin of the Feces. But if you can't get past like what you know Typo Negative to be, I would at least say don't drown out and give those first two records a shot, because they probably will be something you enjoy if you like Carnivore, because then it like piece together those puzzles. Because then otherwise, Typo Negative always had, not those albums, those were instant showers. They were growers for sure, like 5 listens, like Bloody Kisses definitely took 5 listens, maybe 6, maybe 7. Like every album. I'm still listening to World Coming Down. I like songs on it. I don't like the whole album. But then because then they're one of those bands that like, as later, like, maybe most people know of like October Rust and like Bloody Kisses. World Coming Down probably too, but like they may have overlooked like the last 2 albums, Life Is Killing Me and Dead Again. But actually, those are strong. In my opinion, Life Is Killing Me is definitely a way stronger album than World Coming Down, that I think would be more so lumped in like some sort of, not that there was because they changed drummers, classic era of the band, but there's a gap for some reason. I don't know. I think we're all dorks here that you might understand my point, because if you don't, sorry, that's the best I got. Yeah, you might be thinking of Bloody Kiss, but again, give that about another few listens. You might love it. It's just got a lot of character too, and sometimes I think that might go over your head, because I think a lot of like, people that are coming from the Pete Steele hardcore-ish background or elite metalist mindset, you could look at Typo Negative in a like, oh god, that's that 90s chick like band. And I think Bloody Kisses would kind of set that tone for you based upon the hits of that record. But if that didn't blind your scope and you just listened to the record, like, there's so much more, and especially that Pete Steele humor is like throughout. So it gives a sitar, a song with a sitar, because there is, on Bloody Kisses, like just a different reason. And it, I used to hate that song, but then it's like, it's not the best for sure. What is it called? Light My Fire or something? But you can at least see that like it's, it's just character. Right? It's got that Pete Steele vibe that's very prevalent in Carnivore. So I guess if that's the detail that a lot of people appreciate and you just dismiss and Typo, then you might not get that, and that's a shame because they're enjoyable. Back to the comments. No, I don't like Danzig. I really tried. I like Danzig Misfits though, but yeah, I really tried. And I'm telling you, I really tried, because this isn't just like the first 2 Danzig and Oh, and then I listened to Sam Payne, obviously the Misfits. Like, dude, I listened to his latest works, the Elvis cover album. Like, it was neat. Like, I'm not gonna poo-poo that he covered Elvis, if anybody does, because obviously it kind of makes sense that he would. But it's a testament of my trying. No, don't like him. But I guess shit, we're like kind of keeping it in house at this point. Prong, Tommy Victor's in Danzig right now. Wow, that's a mouthful. No Balonians alone. I feel like there's like a kind of a rhythm to pronounce your screen name there. I'm assuming your goddammit is some Pete Steele worship there. What is it? Everyone I Love Is Dead song. Alrighty, cool. Well, yeah, Pete Steele, Typo, Carnivore's great. Saw Prong. Let's either keep the conversation moving beyond baloney, or I'm running out of steam and I got a cold and I'm talking to the wall. So, but yeah, The Thing, Chilly Day, Perfect Way, Stories from Poland. So, if you're one of the 30 people here now that has not heard the original story, well, again, rewind this video. I hope to think that it was enjoyable, so it's at least worth rewatching. So you didn't just spend a portion of your day here in the live chat. I always try to not just be totally off the cuff where it's boring and dead air because I'm reading comments and relying on that. Kind of have a game plan and lead a conversation. So that is to remind you, to entice you to go back earlier if you have not and hear the story from Poland, 2009. When the Crucified Mortals Nun Slaughter performance happened, because those are coming out. Really good sounding, professionally done recordings that are coming out now, 16 years later, on a double vinyl, because then we reminisced about that story. And then we started talking about Prong, Carnivore ensued, Typo Negative was overlooked but not, and here we are trying to muster up more steam so that my sore ass and back will want to stay here, because we are still lacking super chats. So yeah, is that small record vinyl player really? Wait, how good is that small vinyl player really? I have heard about some issues with them. All right, as I like to kind of look at questions of this magnitude, think about it this way: we can do the best way to answer your question right now. You are on a live stream hearing it through my shitty cell phone speakers. So, if you can hear it, well then, I would say because we're listening to John Carpenter, that's a synth. That's my record that's dusty, popping. But like those lower notes, do you hear them? Because if you do, that would be what I think is in question when you're talking about a small record player with built-in small speakers. How well do those small speakers represent low end, which in a lot of ways really formulates the sound quality of your performance? Because then most shitty speakers or small speakers would then do a great job in representing, the higher frequencies of your record, and that's where then you get thin and shitty. So I'm not saying this is going to rattle the windows from the car from the street passing by, with their cranking subwoofer, but it's going to represent, at least a good dynamic range, having small speakers. You can hook up your Bluetooth, which works on occasion. Not that I have like one of these Bluetooth like boom speakers, which is way fucking better quality speaker wise than the record player. I don't think you can vice versa, where like the record. I never tried. Maybe you could have the record player come out of this boom. They better be. I want to fucking. What do all the cool kids say? Click my links below in the description to buy this record player, and I'll get a commission. Because I ain't getting paid shit from Victrola right now. I don't know. Maybe you could pair this and not do that, because otherwise you can do it the other way around. Like I can hook my phone or my anything, Bluetooth, to come out of these speakers, but I wouldn't do that in that context because this is a better speaker, is what I'm trying to say. But I could in reverse if I want a better speaker, because all I would need in that context, if I could pair and not use these not as bassy and better detailed speakers built in, you still need a record player that's portable. That's the other thing that's cool about it. Like I have a patio that like kind of that has power that like kind of leads down to the woods in behind my backyard. So it's pretty sweet to be like, hey, I want to sit out there and have a fire and jam the thing. Probably wouldn't do that today because it'd be a pretty damn cold fire, but it's good for portability, and especially like portability in the sense of like being outside. Because my opinion is like, yeah, you could do that with your Bluetooth and you could do that with your YouTube streams and Spotify streams. But if I'm outside jamming, I'm kind of in, lack of better terms, Zen mode. And like, I don't want to fucking hear YouTube ads. I don't want to see Spotify, like, and that's the other thing too. If you're one of those, I don't really mind the ads. I can sit through 10 seconds. Like, respect yourself better and don't let the masses sell you into this modern bullshit of annoying the fuck out of you and wasting your time. Invest the money and get the premium of whatever the hell you use the most of. I don't use Spotify. I use the most out of YouTube because I pay YouTube Premium. Best investment ever because I haven't heard an annoying fucking ad. If I did, I'd be listening to Spotify, and I'm not going to be doing that then because I don't want to be outside enjoying my summer day, whatever day, which is hence the point why I'm jamming anything outside and going through the trouble of lugging a speaker or a record player out there, finding power, so on and so forth, just to hear a shitty fucking ad. So, in this day and age, records afford you that experience, and I value that. I just want to put my record on play, and the only thing I got to do is flip it, not skip ads and be annoyed. So I like it for that. I can jam records in essentially almost the wilderness because of the power. It doesn't have something that you could portably plug into, but I guess you could get a battery pack. So, you know, you could be in the middle of nowhere with one of those solar panel battery pack things and jamming records. I like that idea. Otherwise, you get a Bluetooth added bonus. Victrola, when you're selling thousands of these based upon my review here, fuck, you owe me. All right. Good to hear, Just. You got YouTube Premium, no ads. Exactly. Because then you can do everything on YouTube. Like, you can fucking watch movies. Now, it's not like an amazing selection, but there's some shit I've watched on there. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Grumpier Old Men. Remember that movie? I watched that recently. Both of them. But that was on there for free. So, like, you know. But yeah, because then you can listen to music. You can watch this channel. I like to listen to science podcasts. Like, no ads, you know. And it can go for hours. So, yeah, fuck your Spotify's and all that shit. Just because it doesn't have the stuff I want. But also, too, like, I don't have to, like, it seems like, I don't really use Spotify that much. But it still seems like, okay, I really haven't used Spotify because I haven't even had the premium one. I'm assuming, because some platforms are like this, that even when you pay for the premium, there's still like scroll-throughable ads, right? That's in the way of Prong right now. I don't give a fuck about Viagra. I want to find force-fed with bought and sold. Right, Viagra's in the fucking way because it's this dumb ad that's costing me money and now time because fuck. I can go in the woods, grab that Victrola. There's Prong with bought and sold. I know it's done. We're there. It's track 7. We're done. You know? So that kind of shit. So whether that be Spotify, like that doesn't occur on YouTube Because thinning these kooky bastards, like it's an era of like big business is to annoy the fuck out of you. If you're on the freebie, you're the product of being annoyed the fuck out of. So if you're Walmart trying to sell you something, their committee's like, dude, all right, what do we got this time to put on the Super Bowl? Because that's a sad reality that people like to watch commercials and unveil them for the first time in the Super Bowl. Nonetheless, the committee's sitting around. What annoying shit can we come up with this time? Because that's the crap they're going to throw on this to annoy the fuck out of you so that then you cave and you buy the premium service, which they did a really good job of getting me to do it. Otherwise, yeah, like 20 or whatever. What the hell, just how much does it cost? But you know what I mean? For whatever the cost is, and not get ahead of yourself and have like a zillion set them and forget them streaming services that you eventually are, fucking yourself with. Like if you have that, if you know what you consume and pay for, which I do, like you're only paying for one thing and you're getting a lot more out of it. Because yeah, a lot of this shit's like these tricky bastards. Because hell, we're talking about John Carpenter. Like I know he has that new show, but it's like, it's on the other platform. Like, can I watch it on YouTube? No, fuck. All right, well, how do I watch it? Well, you gotta download Peacock. Like, I'm not doing that. Then when you do that, Peacock's free for 7 days. Put in your credit card now. Mark your calendar. Like, no. I'm not watching this until it's on YouTube or somehow I stumble upon it. Because then shit like that, it's like, man, you can't even like the people that you used to love, in this case, John Carpenter, and just consume it because it was like at the movie theater and now later it was a DVD you could buy. Like, whoa, nope, Peacock owns that content and they will never put it elsewhere. That way you have to subscribe there, and now they snag the John Carpenter fans because then there's more ads to sit through. And I'm on a fucking rant, but this is Reaper Rants. Cause yeah, I hate it. I absolutely hate this modern module. I mean, I've hated commercials ever since taping The Simpsons off the Fox network on Sunday, because that was when the new episodes happened. And then Channel 43, it was here, on every day was then the repeats. But like, it was always badass to then like, sit around youngsters that aren't here. That don't know how a VCR worked. That like to tape, Simpsons, like to have one that's like, that's one of those VCRs that like, once you press record, you can press pause. Like there was a VCR that didn't have that function, that if there was a commercial, you had to record those too, because you could just press record or stop when it was over. But I guess you could press stop and then press play again after the commercial. But there was a reason why. It's been a while. There was a reason why you wanted to pause it. And nonetheless, you used that feature, and you didn't want to sit through the fucking commercials. This is the point. and I've been that way since, the first Simpsons episode I've ever seen, and I've continued to feel that way to this day, seeing it like a conspiracy theory that, like, all this shit is designed to annoy the fuck out of you so that you cave, and you're like, I'm a John Carpenter fan, I'm just going to pay it, I'm going to get Peacock. Where I'm the type of guy that says, until it's on YouTube, I just won't watch it. Because that's the only thing I'm paying for. One thing. Well, then shit, man. Yeah, but Tubi's got fucking commercials, by the way. And I mean, unless you pay for it. And I'm not saying, like, don't pay for shit. I'm just saying, if you're one of those people that, like, aren't savvy and you need, like, some... Because I'm speaking from, like, ads that I've seen. Like, they sell shit now that, like, it'll, like, you feed it the information that it needs, and it will scan your whatever digital imprint to tell you, like, hey, you know that Netflix subscription that you've had for 5 years that you're getting billed for every month that you don't use? No, right. That's why you're paying for now this app to tell you that you're getting fucked by this other app. Like, that's like... what is it, an Ouroboros? The fucking snake eating the tail, like an infinite cycle of wasting money, all because we live in this time waste culture to annoy you, so you wanted to buy it in the first place. Is if you can stay on top of that shit, well then, yeah, have 10 of them, as long as you use them, and you want to see Peacock's version of the new John Carpenter show. I'm just not one of them, because I will forget, and I pay just for YouTube, because I use that the most. That's my suggestion to anybody that may or may not have that problem. Yeah, ad blocker's a thing too. But again, it's another thing to download. It's like, it's not to say that you don't have a better solution than I do. It's just to say that if you don't have the forethought and you just put up with it, like they live. Great movie. But honestly, that's kind of what, like, if we're, like, John Carpenter's putting me in this mood, but isn't that essentially kind of what the message is of a movie like They Live? The they in this case are like this ideology of like serving you bullshit ads that, yeah, the idea is to incentivize annoying the fuck out of you and wasting your time so that way you get frustrated and you pay for it. Like, if you think about it then, if that's like your job, you're the guy on that committee of like having to command creative people to use their skills of film and writing to then be annoying, like, fuck you. That's the culture I hate. And we just accept it because that's kind of what I thought, in a way, was the message of a movie like They Live. And we really live in it now. So if you didn't think about an ad blocker, paying for a YouTube Premium, got suckered into 20 apps that you do or don't pay for at a time, like, it's there. It's a conniving, divisive, modern, way to sell you shit. Imagine this as a friend. Reaper doesn't come around often, and when he does, he's fucking going off on rants about commercials, essentially. If I had a t-shirt, though, commercials would be like X'd out, like, you've been crossing the line since 1989, because that would have been, I think, well, the Morbid Angel line, for one, because it's hilarious, but two, when the first Simpsons episode came out, because if you haven't noticed by now, I'm a big fan of The Simpsons. Willie, is it better to collect music or movies? I would say music. I got a pretty elaborate reason why. I guess elaborate in some ways. A pretty, I guess, practical take, though. Music gets updated less often. Movies, I mean, think about it. Okay, like, let's use update as an example. Like, what do you mean? Like, well, so movies started out as fucking films. Well, the first origin of product was like go to the movie theater to see a film. Then eventually there became like a TV where then you could re-experience the movie at a later date because then they were playing it on TV and it was pay-per-view or some shit. And then eventually there became a beta and then a VHS tape. So now you're buying a VHS tape of the same damn movie that you've seen, but in a way you never owned it. So now here in line is the first version of owning a movie that you could watch whenever the fuck you want. Then came the DVD era, which is basically, hey, this is the better version of those shitty VHS tapes that you had. Alongside doing so, they had so much, they were able to kind of like, and I know I skipped like laser discs and stuff, but essentially it led up to a DVD that was, yes, oriented in like better quality sound and video, but it also introduced inherently, because you had better sound quality and video, a big Well, okay, okay. I didn't. I was typing, and so can you hear me? Okay, cool. Somebody asked earlier, do you still talk to Eddie Satan? Well, he just fucked up the audio. He was trying to call me. Now he just texted me. He's not in the chat apparently. So Willie was saying about the format, and I was ranting. Where was I in my rant? I think I was at the DVD with bonus feature. I think I was at the point of saying DVDs were the best quality at one point, hence their migration from VHS. And then it also inherently introduced the idea of like, if you're buying the same movie, you're going to get bells and whistles. Because that wasn't entirely a thing. Like, it kind of was a thing when you bought a VHS tape of something. Like, it makes me think of, I don't know why, Titanic. That, like, when you, well, it was a double VHS, but, like, you got a bonus with it. Like, it had, like, a featurette or something before the movie. Like, you didn't get that on every VHS tape. You eventually kind of, yes, you didn't get it on every DVD, but it was like a thing, right? I'm preaching to the choir, I think. Like, we all kind of get this point. But maybe you didn't see it as I'm kind of saying. Because my initial point was to Willie's question, what's better to buy, audio, music, or movies? And that's why I'm saying movie or music, because movies update more often, so you're on this shit race of always keeping up and buying the same thing. Because then, yeah, if you graduate to the next format, Blu-ray and Ultra K and 4K, you know, basically the way I see it, the Blu-ray, which is in the blue box, or those black box things that look like Blu-ray, whatever the difference between the two, one's obviously better picture than the other. Therein lies my update point. But the whole, like, buying the same movie and getting more shit on the side to the better picture, better sound, not as much. Like, the picture's 4K on this black one, maybe, or maybe it's 8K at this point. But the audio isn't as beefed up because audio doesn't go as fast as needing to be updated, is the point I'm getting at. Like, what are we at? Like 10.1 surround sound? Like, that's different, yes. But music doesn't have 10.1 surround sound, at least not yet that I can think of. Now, it does have DVDs where, like, there comes Rush again, or Rush for sure, where, like, you could get said classic album mixed in 5.1 surround sound, but you need to dissect what that really means, because otherwise you're the sucker in the rant that I just kind of said. Because if you don't see annoying fucking ads in the light that I already spoke of, or like buying, in this case, videos too often, that you're going to be, you're getting kind of, you know, they're like a predator. They're like, you know, it's a sales predator of DVDs that I'm describing. Like, you're not getting as much bankage for your buck. Like, to some degree you are when you're buying The Fog for the 8th time on Blu-ray because it has one of the 8 covers that exist. Like, seriously, too. We're going to use The Fog as an example. And this is even a DVD. Although, if I went in the other room... But actually, this might be a great way to bridge my point. Because I'm talking about a DVD. Well, not a DVD. We said we got to the Blu-ray. But you could have bought The Fog on DVD and not given a fuck to update it and get it on Blu-ray. That's why the extra bells and whistles slightly went further, where we have all these Blu-rays now coming out where it's like, get The Fog again, and now it has this snazzy new cover coming to you by Scream Factory shortly. Usually the snazzy new cover, though, does accompany the snazzy new featurette with ancient Jamie Lee Curtis speaking about woke. I don't really like her anymore, I gotta be honest. But woke Jamie Lee Curtis talking about The Fog. Yeah, it's kind of cool. She hasn't really talked about the fog much. Definitely I'm not on the DVD. But if you kind of get my point, like a little bit of the value of like all these extra bells and whistles are cool and great. And yes, you did get a brand new featurette about the fog with ancient Jamie Lee Curtis speaking in a woke fashion. But it's 40 years later. Like, she doesn't fucking remember, nor do I want to see her face or hear her voice. I do own the version that has that. But if you were to kind of think about it, you kind of got suckered. Like, you still already had the fucking fog. And if that doesn't make sense, because, well, I want the Blu-ray with the ancient Jamie Lee Curtis. Well, all right, what's better to invest in, music or movies? Well, from that regard, perhaps still the music, because still, if all you gave a shit about was the original piece of artwork, and then they sold you on the idea of like, yeah, but isn't this kind of a cooler cover? You could buy it. And then, isn't this kind of a cooler cover? You could buy it. And, in a way, each time you're getting more quality bells and whistles, because these bells and whistles actually kind of are something grounded in the same spirit and vibe of what the movie that's 40 years old had. Hence my woke Jamie Lee Curtis featurette remark. Not to like be political in the modern sense, but like, it's just to at least kind of bring you like, do you even really want to hear that? Like, because some people like in 40 years become a shithead that I don't give a fuck about. Like, look, I'm going to continue to use Jamie Lee Curtis as an example, because everybody was like all excited when they did that reboot of Halloween and they were bringing her back. But I was sitting there thinking like, fuck her. No. And you know why? The extra bells and whistles DVDs of movies that I bought for the zillionth time. Dude, this is like this is a laundry list of why to invest in music over DVDs. You do get the special features, but it makes me think of, I'm going to go grab it because it's fucking cool and I want to show it anyway. It makes me think of, this is why she's a good example. I'm not just attacking her. It makes me think of the original Halloween and how I bought this box set at Borders. Do you remember Borders? Back in the day when Anchor Bay was a thing. Do you remember Anchor Bay? If the answer is no, well, you were missing a cool time period, because that was kind of when you didn't get extra, you got extra, see, this is what I'm saying, I guess, as far as like what's better to invest. Like, we've gotten to the point where like we're so like invested in this like premium product, right? The zillion things where Jamie Lee Curtis is being tolerated 40 years later, talking about a subject, the fog. She doesn't remember. So how awesome is that featurette going to be, by the way? But secondly, like, it's just yet another bell and whistle, because we have the 1980, when did the fog come out? 82? We have the whenever the fog came out featurette with John Carpenter at the age that he was making the movie, talking about the movie. And we got that on our DVD. So if we did get a Blu-ray with an updated cover, which you could have gotten, which is none of these covers, by the way, but you still could have got cover that made sense to the movie for one on an LP, but then like literature that wasn't there with the movie explaining other aspects of the movie, like the sound in this case. Like, oh, okay, now we're kind of getting more acquainted with this movie we know and love. Hell, because they're playing into that. Like, we know you love it and you can't live without the fog or Michael Myers. Here's a new Jamie Lee Curtis featurette, where what Reap Dog's proposing is, fuck you and your bells and whistles and new covers and all that, although you suckered me into them. Like, give me the one and done version. Like, if you're going to do anything, this is pretty cool that it comes with a rubber Michael Myers mask. Like, do something with the packaging. Like, fuck Jamie Lee Curtis. This is why I fuck Jamie Lee Curtis, because when you got me to buy this version, they put in an extra Blu-ray, all right, called 25 Years of Terror. 25 Years of Terror was obviously the 25th anniversary. It said 30th. So apparently, this is 25 Years of Terror came in. Dude, like, you got a fucking chronology of how many times they sold you this fucking thing. Which didn't take 25 years, by the way. So the Jamie Lee Curtis, bringing it back around. This is the 30th box set. This Jamie Lee Curtis oriented DVD that's 25 years later was the 25th anniversary you could have bought. Then 5 years later, they need to fucking sell you the same thing again, so they sold it to you in this box set that comes with the original Halloween. Get this, too. The original Halloween on DVD or on Blu-ray, so the same movie twice, but they're counting that against the discs that you're getting. Now, this is actually pretty cool, so if you're a Halloween dork like I am, or if you didn't know that I am a Halloween dork, then this is another thing to be. You don't even need this new guy to make this bullshit, to re-experience what you know and love, the actual fucking movie. Did you ever see the made-for-TV version of Halloween? You should. It's got extra shit in it you don't know about. What a better way. So this is a cool box set that you don't need to keep buying 30 years later, that they keep updating with dumb shit, because there's nothing to update. It's a 40-plus-year-old movie. You get the other two DVD or shitty movies with it, but hey, at least you get that, and they were trying. This is a limited edition to 2,000 copies. So that's pretty cool. Nonetheless, the DVD that's 25 years later, surrounded by one of the horror conventions that Jamie Lee Curtis would never go to at all for any of the Scream Queens, horror connection. She finally, 25 years later, goes to the Halloween-based one, and during said session, says, fuck everybody here, paraphrasing, but basically, fuck everybody here, you're miserable to be around. I'm only doing this for money that I don't need because I'm going to donate it to, a children's hospital or something. And most people probably got fixated on how that looks like a good cause for humanity. Reaper was busy going, she just said fuck the audience that made her the Scream Queen. Well, then fuck her when they're going to put out a 40-year-old woke turd of a Halloween trilogy. Whew. There you go. The first time ever I come clean. Are you convinced that movies are less better to invest in? All right, I think I really am overstaying my welcome with a sore ass and sore back, because now I got a fucking leg that's falling asleep. Yeah, so if you enjoyed that, great. There are a lot of comments that apparently happened here. None of them are super chats. None. Fuck. Got a sore back, sore ass, and sleeping foot for free. All in the sake of entertainment. No, I'm joking. But hey, it has been a moment. What I just said is true. I got to get going about my evening. I'm gonna be checking out Nosferatu tonight. So there you go. I'm currently spinning The Thing. I'm gonna watch Nosferatu later, but I'm going to attend the theater. Did I just say, I'm going to the theater to see Nosferatu. I got confused by fucking movies. Which again, it maybe is in alignment with investing in the movies or not. So I guess I'll close with expectations to this new Nosferatu movie that I haven't seen. Because especially what I came here originally to talk about. So again, if you only caught the later half of this live stream, rewind. Hopefully you're entertained by the stories that are the Polish story that this video is all about. You will hear those stories that I don't need to reiterate, but reminiscing about crucified mortals who have a song, Nosferatu, and thinking about that song 16 years ago or even longer when it was originally written, it kind of put me as a Nosferatu nerd in 2025 where they remade the fucking thing. So my comments on expectations are I have none. I'm not one of those uber dorks that's pissed off that it is being remade, because it actually does kind of look like they brought in people that give a fuck, that will at least do some sort of representation that won't serve as a shitty, woke Jamie Lee Curtis getting back into a franchise that she just can kind of leave, and I don't really care. So you're bringing back one of my favorite characters that isn't Jamie Lee Curtis, Nosferatu, played by somebody else, because I haven't seen what he looks like. They don't put it in the trailers, and that's all I've seen. So those are my expectations. Hopefully he's not disappointing. Hopefully the music's cool. And I don't think anything else. I don't like from what the looks of it. It looks like it served just fine. Like I'm not expecting flashy and I mean, granted, if it does that, I'll be disappointed. Like jump scares and fast movement. Like if it's a slow burn, because I actually kind of heard people saying it's boring, so that's kind of sound like oh good, it's gonna be up my alley. Because I think like Nosferatu's always been a slow burn, and there's no other way for that to not be a slow burn. And if that doesn't make any sense, well, then I invite you to watch the Klaus Kinski remake. Ha! That I got suckered to buy with a different cover on soundtrack. Because then you really get to see through his portrayal, Klaus Kinski's, of the vamp being, because in this case he's back to Dracula, but Count Orlok is, for those that don't know, the vampire is not called Nosferatu, that's just the name of the film. So Count Orlok, or in this case, Count Dracula, Klaus Kinski plays him very well and really kind of presents just a, for lack of better description, like like if he's a vampire and he's been around for centuries, like fuck. Like he really plays that like, you know, that plays up that loneliness and shows a depressive side of it. So yeah, if it turns out to be a fucking Twilight version of Nosferatu, I'm going to be severely disappointed. Otherwise, I don't think so. Those are my closing remarks. So I guess the next time you see me, I can share you a full divulged review of the new Nosferatu, I guess. Otherwise, that's something that you could ponder and I guess leave in a comment of shit you want to hear me talk about. Although I don't really need too much guidance in that remark, because that's the point of this live stream and all the live streams, which I've titled Reaper Rants, is basically if I'm feeling like there's something that I could spend an hour, 111 minutes talking about, then I'm going to dive deep and do it. Granted, that subject today was about the Polish recordings that are coming out in double LP, and that lasted about 30 minutes, because otherwise, thanks to Prong, Carnivore, and the conversations that ensued from having a live stream, that's entirely the point, though, to have somebody, you know, on the other side commenting and getting me to rant in other areas. And boom, we have ourselves a full-on episode. This is me saying that this is that full-on episode, and I'm about to leave. I appreciate you being here, though. Oh my God, dude. Fuck. Foot's falling asleep. Hang out with the Victrola, though, on the ground. Listen to records. Not exactly a bad thing, just 111 minutes later, sore ass and back and falling asleep foot. So if you like that, though, you can count on there being more. And I don't know when, but again, I just explained that. So hopefully you enjoyed it. And I have no guarantee of when I'll be back, but it'll be soon. Adam's doing daily videos, so I think I could at least probably do monthly live streams. Because yeah, this is way easier for me to do. Takes all the planning off and just, you know, hop on here and hang out, really. So here we have it. All right, that's more ranting upon ranting. So I'm gonna cut it off here. BTA, later, brah. What's heavier than Pantera? I never would have thought when I was sweeping the floor. New Year's Day, by the way. Don't remember the year. Probably 2005. No. 2003. Yes, 2003. I worked at Denny's, and I was sweeping the floor, and it was New Year's Day, and some guy was sitting there eating his moons over my hammy. I don't think it was that, but let's just say, because it's a funny title of a damn sandwich, yeah, he noticed my long hair and was, you like metal? And it was like, do you like Pantera? And it's like, I like heavier stuff. And I was like, what's heavier than Pantera? So, leave you on that nostalgia. Otherwise, rewind the video and you'll get more of it. And I will talk to you next time. Let's get the super chats going next time. See ya. Oh shit. Awkward.